All right, y'all. So now what is it your girl's recording? This is gonna pain me. Let's go ahead and let's get into this next reaction, shall we? Now, Blackie speaks. Shout outs to you. This might end ASAP Rocky's career. And if y'all don't know, as of right now, ASAP Rocky is on trial and could potentially be facing 24 years in prison for pew-pewing his friend. You know, there's a possibility of that. So without further ado, let's go ahead. Let's start up this video.
Now, this entire ASAP Rocky case could literally be the end of his career. I want to talk a little bit.
Let me put the word alleged, alleged, because you're innocent until proven guilty.
About the situation ASAP Rocky currently has found himself in. This is a case I actually covered 2 years ago, but there's not only been a lot of updates to the story since then, but there's currently a trial that's ongoing as we speak.
So you see ASAP, also known as Rakim Mayers, arriving at court as day one of the trial got started. Prosecutors accuse ASAP Rocky of pulling out a gun and shooting at an old friend known as ASAP Relly during an argument back in 2021.
Now let's take a look at this entire story, okay? This shooting in question that ASAP Rocky is currently.
Gang, put your head down real quick. Put your head down. I just need to see the front of the hat. That's it. That's it. You're starting to scare me, bro.
In trial for. So let's take a look at what happened.
Okay, that's his English. Ooh. Gang, be careful with that.
Let's look at the story itself, Rocky's response, the trial, and allow me to give you a breakdown of what you need to know. So first of all, I think most people are familiar with ASAP Rocky, a rapper, songwriter, producer, a prolific artist in hip-hop who has the respect of many. Back in April 2022, ASAP Rocky was arrested upon arriving to Los Angeles International Airport, LAX, in connection with a shooting that happened that previous year in November. Rocky was at the time arriving on a private plane from Barbados, where he had been on a vacation with his then girlfriend, Rihanna, who we all of course know. According to multiple sources at the scene, Rihanna was actually with Rocky when he was arrested, and a search warrant was then executed at his Los Angeles residence. Rocky was booked into jail at 12:42 p.m. that day, and his bail was set to $550,000. He was then released less than 3 hours later after posting bond. And this is when we get into the actual story. It was reported that ASAP Rocky, a real name Rakim Mayers, was the suspect in a shooting that took place on November 6, 2021 near Vista Del Mar and Selma Avenue in Los Angeles. The incident occurred at 10:20 p.m. on that day, marking a pivotal moment in a long history of friendship that would take a dark turn. The victim, Terrell Efron, also recognized as ASAP Relly, and the defendant, Rakim Mayers, had known each other for around 14 to 15 years. Despite their close bond, tension had been brewing for some time as a series of disagreements had begun to strain their relationship. On that Saturday evening, Efron and Rocky himself spoke over FaceTime and made plans to meet near the W Hotel in Hollywood Boulevard. Efron, walking southbound on Argyle Avenue, eventually encountered Rocky near the entrance to a parking garage. That encounter, captured partially on a nearby security camera, would become the starting point of the unfolding chaos. Now, the video footage revealed Rocky wearing a black hooded sweatshirt decorated with rhinestones, accompanied by two other individuals whom Efron was familiar with. One of them was a guy named Ills, and the other guy was Jamel Phillips, aka 12E. What started as a simple meeting soon turned confrontational. According to reports, Rocky walked towards Efron and said, "What's up?" And if you're from New York, you already know that when someone says what's up, it's not just a greeting, it's a signal that means shit's about to get real. Now,
you're not wrong. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Because what's up could be like, what's up? And then what's up like, what's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? You got to be real careful with that. New York is the only state that will have that will have different meanings to one phrase depending on the context of how you use it. Oh my God, I love my state so much.
Things escalated quickly, and Rocky, who was a big man, ended up storming towards Terrell and grabbed him by the collar of his sweatshirt. Before ASAP Relly could react, Rocky shoved him backwards, and one of the people present, Mr. Ulanger, who saw what was happening, tried to step in, telling Rocky to stop and separating them as best as he could. But Rocky wasn't done, okay? He pulled a black semi-automatic handgun from his waistband and aimed it straight at Efron. With anger in his voice, Rocky threatened, "I'll kill you right now," while pressing the gun hard into ASAP Relly. It was a moment of pure tension, but Mr. Ulanger managed to separate them before things got worse. After the confrontation, Rocky put the gun back in his waistband and walked away, heading south on Argyle Avenue towards Selma Avenue. As he walked off, Efron noticed ASAP 12 holding a pocket knife, but 12 wasn't staying. He took off, following Rocky down the street. Now ASAP Relly, the victim in question, was dumb enough to want some more smoke, and boy wasn't backing down, and boy was that a mistake. So he decided to walk behind Rocky as Rocky was walking away. Obviously he was still upset and wanted to address the issue he had with Rocky, hoping to resolve some of the tension between them. A few seconds later, Rocky and them walked south on Argyle Avenue. They turned left onto Selma Avenue, heading east until they came close to an intersection nearby. Rocky, who was ahead of the group, waited for the others to catch up, and as soon as they arrived, bam! Rocky turned around and fired shots at ASAP Relly, who was approximately 16 feet away from him. Relly immediately felt the heat on his hands, okay, like something had hit him, and it wasn't long before he realized he'd been hit. 3 of his left hand knuckles had been grazed by the bullet. Now the tension at this moment was high, and ASAP Relly was apparently scared shitless. Okay, I would too if Rocky was like shooting at me and shit, allegedly, right? So he then quickly moved behind one of the people who Rocky was with and used him as a shield between himself and Rocky. Now Rocky said, "I want some mo," okay? In other words, he wasn't done. He kind of moved back and forth trying to find an opening to fire, allegedly, and at the same time Rocky was also trying to close the gap between them, and he did all this while trying to get closer to ASAP Relly. Now Rocky then fired off some mo shots, but none of these hit ASAP Relly, lucky for him. Now, after the shooting, ASAP Rocky decided to run from the scene like Usain Bolt and took off north on Vista Del Mar with ASAP 12 right behind his tail. And this was all caught on surveillance. The footage that the police had backed up ASAP Relly's story, showing how he moved behind one of the 2 people present with Rocky to avoid getting shot by Rocky. And then the cameras on Vista Del Mar Avenue even picked up the sound of 2 gunshots, confirming the chaos of the moment. In the videos, you can clearly see Rocky, ASAP Relly, and the 2 other people he pulled up with, one of them being ASAP 12. All of them were identifiable by their appearance and the clothes that they're wearing. Now, after the shooting, ASAP Relly made his way back to his hotel to regroup from the trauma Rocky had put him through. About 52 minutes later, he returned to the side of the shooting, and there the boy found 2 expended cartridge cases on the ground. Cartridge cases, by the way, are the empty shells left behind after a gunshot is fired, essentially the part that holds the bullet before it's expelled from the gun. So Relly picked them up and handed them to the popo, okay, to the police as evidence. So after everything went down, the evidence in the preliminary hearing made it clear there was enough evidence to believe that Rocky actually did what he's being charged with. Now here's how the law works with the Penal Code Section 245, Subdivision B, which deals with assault using a semi-automatic firearm. To break it down, Rocky used a semi-automatic firearm in a way that could have seriously hurt someone. He did it on purpose. It wasn't on accident. When he pulled the trigger, he knew that it would probably harm someone. He had the ability to hurt someone with that firearm, and he wasn't acting in self-defense or protecting anyone else. It was just him acting out. All these elements came together, and that's what built the case for the charges against ASAP Rocky.
Yep.
So everything we just talked about is why ASAP Rocky is making headlines right now. Honestly, the story hasn't blown up as much as I expected it to blow up.
You want to know why it hasn't blown up? Because, and I hate to say this, I mean, Rihanna was the main, I believe she was the president of Fenty, but she had stepped down at one point. I can't remember if it was last year or the year prior, because of this incident, to be honest with you. She's been really helping him bring down the level of like how bad that public press can be, is really like on from her team, you know. Now I like ASAP. I don't got no problems with ASAP Rocky, but that's excuse me, that's unfortunate as hell to what it is that he's going through, because yes, in law, it's not, depending on the state or where it is that you live, because each gun law states is not the same from each other within the United States. But what makes this worse is just like, gang, you was on camera with it, and then there's the cartridge that was left. There's things it is that's like that may be enough evidence to where it is that you can very much get incarcerated for. And that is just like, no. Because he had a plea deal. And we talked about the plea deal where it was like, if he spent like 180 days within, I think it was county jail. I don't even think it was prison. I think it was just county jail. 3 years of, or I think it was like 5 years of like probation and 3 years of like suspension or something like that. I can't remember fully. But And he said no to it. And normally with plea deals, it's a garbage, bogus deal to where it is like, all right, well, if you want to able to walk and go on home, all it is that you got to do is do this, this, and this. Normally plea deals are terrible, you know, because who has the money to sit there and go through trial and to prove it is at their level of being innocent, and how long it is that these trials may take? No, nobody normally likes to go down that route. So that's why they give those plea deals to just be like, all right, cool, we'll just make a decision here. But, you know, so is it as bad as a 360 deal? I mean, for me personally, nothing's worse than a 360 deal. But I mean, but then you gotta think of it like this: not seeing the light of day and you being in prison is worse. Both of them are prison. Just one is actually being in prison, and the other one is just like, well, you can't necessarily move or shake, so you might as well just be in that. But I really do feel bad for Rocky, man. I feel bad for him, but it's just like I even feel more bad for Rihanna at this point, because if he gets incarcerated, now she's gonna be a single mom of 2 boys while it is he's serving his sentence. And I just hope that I really do pray it is that this sentence, if he does, gets terrible. I really hope it doesn't get to that point, but we shall see.
Considering, you know, Rocky's status as a major figure in music, I thought it would get way more attention, being honest with you. Especially considering the fact that, you know, he's together with one of the biggest musicians of this generation, Rihanna. There's actually some speculation going around that Rihanna might have some influence on how this whole situation plays out.
Brian,
told you.
During jury selection, lawyers asked one prospective juror if she would be able to deliver a guilty verdict if Rihanna, A$AP Rocky's partner, were to show up in court. The woman took a long pause and then eventually answered yes. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I think that's a juror really contemplating what outside factors could affect their decision. I'm hoping that that long pause was just a thoughtful moment that juror had, or that the juror never made it. But it does happen to the fact that oftentimes we as attorneys, prosecutors, and defense attorneys hope and expect that jurors are focusing on the witness stand and the evidence that comes in the well of the court and not what happens outside or even the court of public.
Now, the trial is currently ongoing, and Rocky is in a very sticky situation, man. If you guys didn't know, A$AP Rocky decided to roll the dice and rejected a plea deal in this felony assault case. According to sources close to the situation, he said that it would have cost him his livelihood, and that's why he rejected it. By the way, a plea deal is essentially when the defendant, you know, someone who's accused of a crime, agrees to plead guilty to a lesser charge or accept a certain punishment in exchange for a more lenient sentence or avoiding a trial. It's a way to avoid the uncertainty of going to court, but in Rocky's case, you know, he felt the terms were too harsh and chose to fight instead. When you decide to take it to court, that essentially means you're rejecting any offers to settle this case outside of trial. Instead, you're choosing to face the charges in front of a jury or a judge, putting your fate in their hands and hoping for a better outcome, even though there's obviously a risk of facing the maximum penalty if found guilty, and the risks for Rocky are huge. By the way, did I say that I'm obviously not a lawyer? This is just general knowledge. Now, the plea deal Rocky was offered included 180 days in jail, a guilty plea to the most serious offense of the 2 felonies, assault with a semi-automatic weapon. On top of that, Rocky would have faced a 7-year suspended sentence, 3 years.
I mean, to be honest with you, I've seen some plea deals that is really just like, okay, yeah, nah, that's a terrible plea deal. But yeah, I was right. 180 days in jail. That's not even prison. Jail, gang. Jail is where it is that they hold you until it is that you get sentenced. They trying to not put you in prison at all. You know? And yeah, like you may have 3 years of probation, 500 hours of community service. This is really not that bad of a plea deal versus what I've seen. I've seen some crazy plea deals where it's just like, oh, hell no. You know? I'm not gonna lie, Rocky, you should have took it. If you're saying that this is harsh, I just hope and pray it is. I really hope and pray it is that he's able to, get out of this and be with his family, be with Rihanna and those 2 beautiful boys. But this isn't that bad. It's 6 months within jail. It's not easy to be away from your family. I get that. But 6 months in jail versus you potentially facing up to 24 years in prison, that's night and day. Night and day.
Automatic weapon. On top of that, Rocky would have faced a 7-year suspended sentence, 3 years of probation, and 500 hours of community service. But instead of taking the deal, Rocky decided to fight the charges against him and take his chances, which, you know, that's exactly what he's doing, right? With Rocky's career and public image hanging by a thread, the trial has been making waves and grabbing national attention. It's not just about him though. It's also tied to his high-profile relationship with Rihanna, his partner and the mother of their 2 children. So stakes couldn't be higher for Rocky. The outcome of this trial could have major consequences for his career and life. He could receive up to 24 years in prison if he's convicted. So this is some serious shit right here. It's honestly ridiculous that Rocky is in this position, honestly. I don't know how the hell you end up in a situation where you're, you know, firing off shots at people in LA of all places when you're famous, rich, successful, worldwide, like just a global superstar, right? This is so beneath Rocky, because why would you ever put yourself in this situation? And honestly, Rocky put himself in this situation. I mean, when you look at the fact that there's an entire case against him with surveillance footage showing him doing exactly what he's being accused of, it's hard to ignore. On top of that, there's a victim, someone who was, you know, supposedly directly impacted by his actions, and the evidence is, you know, stacking up like pancakes, and it's not looking good for ASAP Rocky.
Yeah,
Easier said than done, though. It seems like this was, you know, in the heat of the moment kind of thing, and obviously with there being a history between himself and the victim in this case, ASAP Rocky, it makes things so much more complicated, right? Let's take a look at some of the things that happened though. I think where Rocky shot himself in the foot is when he was walking away with his homies, and you know, the guy ASAP Rocky, the victim, he followed him, and that's when he ended up firing the shots, right? Because at that point he did have an opportunity to walk away, right? Although Rocky followed him, I don't know if they could argue that Rocky was an immediate threat to Rocky because he was the one packing the heat, right? Now, before Rocky fired off the shots, he didn't only brandished the gun, but he did also point it at him and press the gun into ASAP Rocky, his victim, right? And by the way, as all that was going on, Rocky's homie was trying to get in between them, and he was trying to stop Rocky from, you know, crashing out. So in other words, Rocky had a lot of opportunities to back down, to calm things before it escalated, but he chose to go down a much riskier path. And honestly, it's really hard to feel sorry for Rocky. Just completely honest. I'm just being honest, honestly.
Dang.
Rocky put himself in a situation where his entire future is now at risk, which ain't really uncommon for rappers, unfortunately. But ASAP Rocky, of all people, being a crash out, like, I'm not saying that Rocky is a saint. Actually, he is a young nigga from Harlem, so kind of get it. But then again, really, nigga? Like, why? Now, Rocky's lawyer is basically claiming that the supposed victim is trying to capitalize on the dinero, and that wouldn't be too crazy of an angle. I mean, he is, after all, cooped up with a billionaire, so I guess her money is his money in a situation like this, right? I really don't know how the situation is going to end, but just a gut feeling, it ain't looking good for ASAP Rocky. I think Rocky might actually face some type of repercussions that will set him back. It could be time in prison. It could also be, you know, him paying a massive amount in damages. Either way, it's going to have an impact on his life and career, for sure. On the other hand, I have like another feeling, and that feeling is telling me that he might somehow get out of this unscathed, because let's not deny the influence that money, power, and fame could have on a situation like this. Rocky has a strong legal team behind him, and sometimes those factors can tip the scales in your favor, even when the odds seem stacked against you. Anyway, if you made it this far, how about drop a like on this video if you enjoyed it, as a thank you for all the hard work that we're putting in here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Any thoughts on this ASAP Rocky case? Could this be career ending? I want to hear what you guys have to say. If you're new here, my name is Blackie Speaks. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of these videos. So you guys let me know in the comment section below, and I'll catch you guys on the next video. I'm out. Peace.
I do not own Naruto or any.
It's tough. It's really tough. Like I said, this thing, even though it is like, yeah, you may have the money, you may have the level of power, success, and everything like that, but I mean, if he didn't fire off anything, and it was just showed on camera, it is like, yeah, he had the piece on him, then that's a little bit different. But this is looking like an attempt, an attempted, you know what I'm saying? Pew. So yeah, I just hope for the best for ASAP Rocky, man, because this isn't looking too good. But Blackie Speaks, shout outs to you. Thank you so much for the video. Shout outs to y'all in the chat. Shout outs to you at home. I will catch y'all in the next video.